Bienvenidos to Putita and Proud Podcast, a sex education conversation. Today, the P is for pussy power. My name is Supernova. I'm going to be your host today, and my pronouns are they, them, elle. My goal with this podcast is to make these topics of sexual health, sex education, sexuality, gender, more accessible to the general public. You do not need to be an expert to engage in these conversations. At Putita and Proud, what we value is your lived experience and your perspective. My hope with these conversations is that we continue to destigmatize them so that we can access the education to that. So I invite you to step into this conversation with some curiosity and an open mind. Maybe you're going to learn something new, or you might find that you feel seen by this. A quick note, I do have a background in women and gender studies with a minor in human sexuality, so my education is in this. However, I am not a professional in the means of being like a sex therapist. I am currently pursuing a sex coaching certification process. However, I am not currently in that, and I do not currently have that experience, so I think that's important to note. And now for the good part, to introduce my guest today, one of my best friends, and spoiler, the first girl I ever went on a date with. Here with us today, it's Verid. Say hello to the people.
Hey guys, my name's Verid.
I'm so excited to have you here today. Tell the people what we're talking about.
So today we're talking about being a lesbian in a misogynistic world, because spoiler alert, that's me, I'm a lesbian.
And we do live in a misogynistic world.
Unfortunately.
Absolutely. So before we get into all the nitty gritty, something that we like to do here on Putita and Proud is disclose our social location. Mm-hmm. What does that mean? That just means telling the people a little bit about yourself that helps them inform your experience in the world. I'll go ahead and model that. So like I said to you guys before, I am Supernova. I identify as bisexual, as queer, as gender fluid, which means I'm trans. I use they, them, elle pronouns. I am a child of immigrants from Mexico and Peru. I've been working class as an adult. I have a bachelor's from San Francisco State. I'm born and raised in the Bay Area, millennial. I identify as someone who is disabled. I personally like to disclose a little bit about that. I got a lot of D's in my life, okay? I got ADHD, I got PTSD, I got OSDD, I got the chronic back pains as well. So yeah, I'm a recovering Catholic, which will really inform us about this experience. Tell the people a little bit about yourself.
All right, so as I said earlier, I'm a lesbian, right? My pronouns are she, her. I'm also a Russian Ukrainian Jew. I grew up in Georgia, and then I moved to the Bay Area about 5 years ago. Let's see, I have a degree in social work with a minor in history. And with those two very useful degrees, I am now a substitute teacher, which I love.
Yay, yeah. And the purpose of that is just so that the people can either relate or know where our gaps might be, you know, because we do have gaps because we only have our lived experience, and that's what we value here. All right, and now it's time for a little what I like to call kiki with my guests. Yes, a kiki with a karaoke, because welcome to my musical, guys. I know you didn't expect that. Oh, but first, I have to address the Smurf in the room. I did dye my hair last night, y'all, and these hands were fully blue not that long ago. It really did look like I fisted a Smurf, if we're being quite frank.
See, they're pretending that they weren't fisting a Smurf. They're pretending. I told them to do it tomorrow. They just couldn't wait. And now they're trying to come up with this whole story about dyeing their hair. Don't listen. The people need to know the truth.
Oh my God, no. See, there's no kink shaming here. But no, yeah, I forgot to put my gloves on when I dyed my hair. And I look,
sure.
So that's what's going on here with the thingies. Anyway, I wanted to check in with you. How are you feeling about today's topic when I reached out and we decided what we're going to be talking about today? How are you feeling about that?
I hadn't really, it wasn't like a topic that I'd thought about too much until you reached out to me and said, hey, this is what we're talking about. So I feel like it really spurred just like a lot of thoughts on the topic that I hadn't really stopped to have before.
Oh, okay, cool, dope. It's like you live this experience, but like to put a little magnifying glass on it. It's like, oh yeah, I actually have like a lot to contribute kind of energy.
Yeah, like sometimes I feel like with intersectionality, there's just so many different angles and things that you're thinking about, and that are affecting you more and stuff. And I feel like, especially because I don't spend a lot of time with men, and I can be very oblivious to their existence and how they perceive me, I forget to factor that in, which is interesting because despite my strongest, deepest desires, they do have an influence on my life.
Yeah.
So it is good to think about.
We do live in the same world that they're in. Yeah.
I try to pretend that I don't see them, but there they are.
Unfortunately, for the most part, except for I would say for the heated rivalry part of it.
Listen, they're written by a woman, so they get a pass. You know.
I totally took a turn here, but it's because we've been obsessed with heated rivalry, and we watched it I watched it for the first time.
I've reheated so many times. So many reheats.
It was so good. You know, I was thinking about the conversation we were having last week about how you were like, I don't understand everybody's obsession with his ass. Like, I haven't been paying attention to his ass. I'm like, okay, no, that's an ass. Like, it's an ass.
Okay, it's not like that. I didn't notice it. I saw it. I can appreciate its aesthetic beauty, but I'm not reheating to keep looking. Like, I think it's good. It's fine. You know, it's not like. What's incredible is the story. It's the acting. Like, I feel like I'm watching the scenes to look at their faces. They're doing all this face acting, and then I find out that everyone's just interested in dimples and back stretch marks or whatever, and it's fine.
I have another question, but first, will you tell the people what reheating is?
Oh, yes. So reheating is when you're rewatching heated rivalry over and over again. So just instead of rewatch, you say reheat. You know, it's like a cute little fandom thing.
Oh yeah, it's hot and popping everywhere. Like everyone who had told me about it were like, "How the fuck have you not seen it?" Which now I understand. How the fuck did I not see it? I didn't have an HBO Max login, or I had gotten booted off of your families for like half a second, but we solved that.
Yeah.
But I
always got to find a way.
I wanted to share how last week when we were watching one of those scenes, one of those spicy little sex scenes in the show, you're like, I don't know how I see it. And I was like, you gotta stop imagining that that's a man. That's not a man. I was like, that's a non-binary. You know, on the other side of those butt cheeks, they're on the other side of that body. There's some tits hanging over there.
Sure, there.
I'm like, that's a masked non-binary just sitting on the other side. And suddenly you were like, oh, I see it. I just had to reframe to something that could be of interest.
When I was asking you, like, why are they reaching up there why are they reaching up there to their chest when there's nothing there? And you're like, it's still fun to reach up there. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess some people like that.
Yeah. Even if there's like, it's like, you know, like as you know, I'm part of the Tiggle Bitty committee, and we might say that you are part of the Itty Bitty Titty committee.
I don't know what you mean. They're huge.
You know what? You're right.
Enormous.
I'm so sorry. There's like, you just hit me with your tits, bro. Be careful.
I'm sorry.
Anyway. Anyway, it's like someone who's gonna have sex with you or have sex with me is still going to engage in the tits regardless of the size of the tits, you know? So like, guys have nips too. And
right.
As someone who has sex with men on occasion,
my condolences.
Like, well, I mean, my partner is a man, so not on occasion.
He gets a pass.
Pretty regular. We love to engage in that kind. I'm saying we like it's me and him, and now I'm like speaking for us. But I mean me. I mean me and the people that like nipples, regardless of what the nipple look like. And we also like no lip nipples. If you don't have that, that's a vibe. Anyway, that's some good. We got some good giggles in us. All right, I have a fun little icebreaker for us.
Okay.
It's nothing too uncommon. Everyone's done this. We're gonna do 2 truths and a lie, but we're gonna do it spicy version. We've taken some time to prepare our 2 truths and a lie. Would you like to go first, or would you like me to go first?
I want you to go first because I'm seeing the notes and I'm very curious about what it means.
Okay. I'm going to go first. 2 truths and a lie. First one. When I had braces and I was giving someone a blowjob, my braces got caught onto their foreskin.
Oh, God.
2. In 2020, I was ordering sex toys because, you know, none of us were able to have sex with anybody. But I was living at home with my parents, so I had to do a secret package exchange to not get caught. And then 3, I once let someone watch me and my partner at the time having sex together.
Why do I feel like all of those could be true? Okay, I think the lie is the last one.
You are correct.
Okay.
I had a really hard time coming up with something because I kept thinking of like really intense things, and I was just like, what is this? It's not, or I kept thinking of things that I was like, but then someone might kink shame that or whatever. But yeah,
Well,
no.
they shouldn't.
I'm not opposed to a little bit of exhibition. I do think that I am that bitch. However, I have not engaged in that just yet in my life. But the other two, very true.
I feel like I remember you telling me that.
Which one?
The other two. I feel like I remember you telling me about them.
Yeah. The braces one is kind of a hard one to forget. That was a mess, man. That was a fucking mess. It was a shower-in situation.
Oh, God. I feel so bad for that poor foreskin.
Yeah, I want to disclose the age, but if I disclose the age, everyone's going to know immediately who the person is, and
let's let it be a mystery.
He may not be happy with that, but also we can suck it. Anyway.
Just like you did.
No, yeah, literally. We thought we were going to have to go to the hospital and have
very
a
lucky.
doctor rip us apart. It was really embarrassing.
Oh God, how would you have gone like that?
I don't know. We would have just gone, but thankfully there was a lot of blood. Let's just say that, trigger warning. There was a lot of blood.
Oh God.
Anyway, and then the secret package thing was just hilarious because I would send my friends videos of me like when I would go to like Target or the grocery store, and I would grip a blanket and be like, it's been this many days since I've had sex. Or I would send a picture of like the chicken cutlets, smack the cutlet and be like, damn.
That's funny.
So I was ordering a ton. I built my collection that way. And I used to have a package of something that my mom could easily forget in my closet. So when I would go pick up the package, she would always follow me. So I would just throw it to the back of my closet, and then I would grab that, and I'm like, oh yeah, I just got another package. It's like this. And she, she didn't know that I was ordering hella sex toys. And so, yeah. Now, give me yours, please.
The first one. I once brought a sex toy to a game night party so that my friend could fix it for me because I had a very important hookup to attend to later that night. The second one. Once, mid-hookup, I asked the girl to go outside to have sex in her parked car so that I could recreate the scene from Titanic. You know, the one with the hand. Yep.
Yes.
Okay, and then the third one is I once had to pretend that I was asleep and didn't hear my friend and their partner trying and failing to hook up because their partner had whiskey dick.
Oh, okay. I know the last one's true. I remember this story.
It's a good story.
And the first two feel very believable. However, the Titanic one feels so you-coded. It feels so you-coded, like you fucking would. So I think that the first one is a lie.
Yeah, yes it is.
It is? Okay. I mean,
Only slightly though. I just changed the details slightly because I did have someone from the game night party come back with me to my house to fix the toy. I didn't bring the toy to the party.
It with you. Okay. Yeah. See, I should have done that. But, okay, before we continue, here's a break for our ad sponsors. We'll see you in a few. This is a not sponsored ad of Wendy Willow. Do you see this little friend? This is Raven. Their pronouns are they, them. This is a little toad. It's purple and its lights glow in the dark. But it's also a bag. Gasp! How do you feel about toads?
I feel like she looks very dignified, very stately. They have a very nice coat to them. You know, it's the vibes emanating. Immaculate.
Would you like to pet my toad?
I would love to pet your toad.
Not only is this your emotional support bag, a functional bag, it is also a great conversation starter. Do you have social anxiety? Do you not like to talk to people? Are you a little awkward? Maybe got a little narrow spicy like me? Fear not. The Wendy Willow toad bag. People come to you. I can't tell you how many times people told me they're either afraid of toads or asked me to pet my bag. Get yours online and not sponsored, but you should sponsor me. And we're back. Okay, before we get into what I like to call the fruit of our loins, the nitty-gritty of this podcast, let's establish a safe word. So the purpose of this safe word is that every time our conversation maybe goes in a direction that you're not comfortable with, or you decide that you don't want to talk about that certain thing, whatever it may be, you call out your safe word, and we're going to go ahead and pivot. Pivot? pivot. Yes, and I will also say pivot.
A necessity.
Yes. And if you don't know that reference, then I need you to get in touch with millennial media, please. But what is your safe word?
So my safe word is going to be the same one that we did for the practice round because I'm now deeply emotionally attached to her.
Okay.
And the word is Sharknado.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a really good one. Okay, cool. Whenever you say Sharknado, I'm going to go pivot, and that's what we will do. Okay?
Yep.
Okay, so today we are talking about your experience being a lesbian in a misogynistic world. I am not a lesbian, I am bisexual, but I can relate to some of the topics. However, I'm not. So I would love to hear your perspective of how misogyny impacts your life as a lesbian in and outside of the queer space.
It's like in a straight space?
Yeah, in a straight space.
With the heteros.
With the heteros.
I roam amongst them.
Yes.
Rarely.
Yes.
They let me out of my my gay enclosure. So I think my initial thought when I hear that is one of my first experiences with really overt misogyny in a very hetero space, like when I was freshly out as a lesbian, right? Okay. I was still very tender to it, like I was still like, saying, like I was telling people I was lesbian, but like, the way you like hesitate a little before you say it, like when you're a little baby gay, you know? Yeah. So I was
how old were you, by the way, when you came out for the people?
I was 19 when I came out as bi.
Okay, so this is your perspective from 19.
Well, this is actually from 20, because came out as bi at 19, and then 20 I came out as lesbian.
Okay, so tell us about that experience.
Yeah, so I used to go to this little rave club a lot around that age. And it was, I can't say that I thought that it was ever like a safe space, because it's a rave club, right? Mm-hmm. But it was a pretty smaller, it was a smaller club, and we went through a phase where we went all the time, like every weekend. So we felt pretty comfortable there, right? And we saw like the same people, like the same group of people over and over again. So I was pretty comfortable going there, right? And that just leads to like the fact that I did not see this coming, which also I was very naive then. I was very unaware of how other people perceived me, and I was way too busy on a sugar high with all the candy.
With all the
that
candy
I love. Yes, all the candy. And when I say candy, I definitely only mean the bracelets that you wear at those rave clubs and literally nothing else. Okay. But I was, maybe a bit naive, a bit inattentive, and newly baby gay. Mm-hmm. It was a pretty straight club, right? I still, I still found a way to make it work, right? Everyone's on their sugar highs, so we're all in a good mood, right? Mm-hmm. But I somehow found myself talking to this guy, and he was trying to hit on me, and I told him like, oh no, I'm a lesbian, and so then he started, he started saying like that he's also a lesbian, like the way that straight guys do that, and I was like, nah, what are we talking about?
With the whole, I like women too,
mm-hmm. And then he pivoted to saying that, first he was trying to like convince me that I should like dig, and how did I know if I didn't try them all or whatever, discussing this, but then that wasn't enough.
How do you know that you don't like dick?
Oh, yeah.
If you haven't tried them all.
That was my favorite question to throw back. Mm-hmm. So when I threw back that question, he did not like it.
Of course not.
Right? Because that was my thing. I would always say, oh, well, how about, have you tried it? Do you like it? You go and try it, and then you let me know, and then I'll try it. Mm-hmm. Right? And so then they didn't like that. So then he started suggesting that he has a vagina, and how do I know that he doesn't? And then he started trying to take his pants off to show me his vagina. We're in an outdoor area, but there were a lot of people. So at that point, people were like, no. And then, some people got up and like stopped him and stuff.
Oh my God. Yeah. Trigger warning for man revealing himself.
Oh, sorry. I didn't.
No.
It didn't actually happen.
Okay.
He just started to like motion to do it. And then people immediately got up. So nothing happened. But I was just very surprised. I was like, what the fuck? I'm just sitting outside, minding my own business, and suddenly,
He's totally giving, like, I'm entitled to you, because you should like me.
Yeah.
Because I'm a man of God knows whatever the fuck, and he's just like, why don't you like me? Like, you should like me.
I guess.
Dear Lord, that sucks. It's wild too, because like I feel like homophobia is a little like, I don't know if I want to use the word transformed, but it has like its like nuances depending on who is gay, right? Like the reaction of a straight man to you being a lesbian versus a straight man to a gay man, of like how he sees you, like opposed to like being repulsed, he feels like some kind of like entitlement and ownership over you, or like you're something that he should want kind of energy.
Yeah, I guess probably because I'm very like high femme presenting too, so he probably made an assumption about me and was not interested in hearing that he was wrong. So even if I liked men, I don't know why I would be into him, because he was crusty. I don't actually remember what he looked like at all. I just remember the cargo pants that he was wearing. But I assume he was crusty by his actions. Those are crusty actions.
Oh, that sucks. Would you say that you run into situations like that fairly often in straight spaces?
Honestly, not too often, because I very much give off very unapproachable vibes. I've heard that my whole life.
Okay.
So I tend to just not be approached too much in general.
Okay.
So that kind of saves me.
That this, let's call it unapproachable energy, is there any relevance here? Do you think that you're like purposely putting out this like, please do not approach me kind of energy to these men?
I'm not sure. I mean, probably, right? Because I am pretty, say, fervently, it's like passionately, you know, not interested in having men in my circle.
Yes.
Right? And I would be surprised if that didn't emanate from me in some way. But I will say that pretty much my whole life, I have a resting bitch face.
Do you have any like straight male friends?
No, I
Not
don't
that you
even
need
have to think about
I'm
that.
just like, I'm wondering like how this kind of situation like impacts like our ability to trust like straight people, or to feel safe around straight people.
I did have one straight male friend. We were friends, we met in high school.
Okay.
And he was the only person that I went to college with from my old school. And he was also actually the person that I first came out to. The first person I ever came out to as bi, it was him. But the thing is that when he had a crush on me, and I knew he had a crush on me. I did not like him back, obviously.
Yes.
But we remained friends because we had, we really leaned on each other a lot with mental health issues, especially that freshman year of college. So, you know, he was really there for me, and I really thought that we were good friends, and so I thought, right? But then when I came out as bi, it was still fine. We were still friends. We were still hanging out. Everything was still good. And then when I came out as a lesbian, crickets.
Oh, he just stopped talking to you?
Just stopped talking to me.
That's really disappointing. I just want to also, like, to the people say that, like, with this conversation, this is, like, the impact that can happen with the way that our dynamics with people who are, like, cishet meaning someone who's cisgendered, like, their gender is what they were assigned as birth, they identify that way, heterosexual, the quote-unquote norm of, like, you like the quote-unquote opposite gender to you, right? It doesn't mean that all cishet people are, like, bad. It just means that it's experiences like this that makes it hard for us to, like, feel like we can trust in these spaces and, like, not feel wronged, and just, like, the way that misogyny just transforms in, like, queer spaces as well.
Yeah, for sure, because it was honestly not something that I thought would happen. Like, when I was thinking about possibly what could happen once I come out, what would it be like, that wasn't, like, I completely didn't even consider that would be an option. Like, I really thought that all of my friendships would remain intact, and I'm lucky that most of them did. But I honestly, maybe I was young, I was naive, maybe I should have seen it. Like, hindsight, it is a little bit obvious. But at the time, I was pretty upset, because I really must have trusted him at one point, right? Since he was the first person that I came out to.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. I feel like that also feeds into this, like, idea that people have about, like, guys can't be friends with girls and girls can't be friends with guys because they all just want one thing. And that's, like, not the case at all. No. Like, that's really not the case. But this, like, idea exists in the world, and like so much so, like, and it comes from like misogyny and patriarchal values and like what we see in like media, and I could geek out on this shit for so long. Media, and the way that it gets in your head is like, but
we need to do a whole media episode, honestly,
1000%,
because I can
1000%,
me and queer media.
Oh yeah, yeah. But what I'm trying to get at is it creates this environment where like men have been conditioned to through media and the people around them and their environment to see women as like either conquests, property, or what have you, and not just equals and people. But again, this is not necessarily the case for everyone, but media brainwashing is real. I went to school for this shit, guys. The way I took classes about this and like wrote papers on this shit is so real, and it has such deep impacts to the point that like these experiences that you're having. On another note, I'm wondering about like how being a lesbian, like, and like having like maybe like parents or other elderly people, like their expectation of like meeting the markers of the straight world. Like you're supposed to get married, you're supposed to have kids, you're supposed to this, like especially considering you're like femme, they probably still try to box you in. Do you have a lot of like, have you had people in your life try to tell you kind of like what your timeline's supposed to look like?
Well, according to my family's timeline, I have long since passed it. I was supposed to be married with kids by like 21 years old.
Oh my God.
So, yeah. So that timeline's out the window.
Okay.
I think that yes, there's definitely a lot of those influences. Like for one of the things that made my mom really comfortable with me being a lesbian was that she was watching the Fosters.
Yes.
Right? And in the Fosters, they were depicting this family that had two women and they had kids and they had this, like upper middle class suburban lifestyle. And my mom really recognized that. And in that, she was like, oh, okay, so she can still have the life I imagined. It'll just be a woman there instead of a man. But in doing that, on one hand, yes, I'm glad that helped her become more comfortable. But it also does kind of put those constraints on, her expectations for what my life should look like. Yeah. And I mean, I'm not completely opposed. Like, I love the wife and the marriage part.
Of course.
But I don't want kids.
Yeah.
I definitely don't want kids. Yeah. I have never wanted kids.
And you're allowed not to want that. And like, I think you touched on something too. It's like, that's not to say that queer folks and that lesbians don't want that, like, or like, like they can't want that. But I think something I, as a queer person, was doing for myself a lot in these last few years is I was trying to deconstruct things that, because of all of like the media training classes I've had around this, it's really made me go in my brain and go, do you want that? Or did patriarchy tell you you want that? Like, so I've sat with a lot of things, right? And like, what I'm getting at is we're allowed to like want these things for ourselves, but that doesn't mean that that's what our lives are going to look like. That doesn't mean that's what your life needs to look like. And like, that doesn't mean that you have to have a kid or anything of that sort. Like, it's up to you what you want to do. And sometimes the way that like misogyny and patriarchy can get in into like the expectations of someone like you who is very femme is that your life, okay, cool, you're lesbian. And you're, like, the expectation is, okay, you're lesbian and you're the girl, and now you have to be with the guy lesbian. And you guys are going to have a baby together. You're going to get married. You're going to have a baby together. And you're going to be the one to carry the baby because, like, this still fits this idea, this binary idea that we have in. It's, like, this just, like, still trying to shove this into the world, which this does exist in the queer world. So this would be a good place to pivot to what your experience has been like with misogyny within queer spaces, because people think it's all hunky-dory in queer spaces and that we all get along, and then we try, we've obviously had to work through quite a bit, but it's not all roses and daisies all of the time, and we're all currently processing our own stuff too, and it kind of can be a little messy.
Yeah, so I think just for like a little context on what my experience would be with this, I really do surround myself predominantly with women and non-binary people. So I have kind of curated an experience, like a personal experience for myself that's very, I just don't put myself into situations where I can experience a lot of the misogyny, but on a bit of a more macro scale, something that I've been thinking about recently with Heated Rivalry. Gotta mention it again because the obsession remains fresh.
So fresh
Fresh
that you
with
have
Putita.
ginger ale with you.
Actually, yes, ginger ale, sponsored by Shane Hollander.
Okay, sorry, but yes, back to
Yes.
it, back to it.
Because I watch a heater rather, right? I'm reheating and I'm reheating and I'm thinking, man, I wish that there could be a female version of Heated Rivalry. But the thing is that the reason that they wouldn't make a female version of Heated Rivalry is because the reason that Heated Rivalry blew up is because queer people across the spectrum are watching it, right? Men, non-binary people, women, agender people,
the whole
world.
mafia.
Everyone's watching, even the heteros are watching.
Yes.
But the problem is that if they made a female version of it,
Yeah.
gay men would not watch.
Yep.
And the ratings would be lower and they wouldn't make those shows. And I know because there have been some amazing shows with queer women as the forefront that were canceled. I'm talking about First Kill. If any of you guys have seen First Kill, it's so good. It is like the definition of camp. It's so funny. And I'm still so sad that it's canceled after one season.
I gotta put this on my watch list because I'm like annoyed that I haven't seen this. But I feel you. I feel like, you know, like the patriarchy still has its influences within like queer spaces, right? Like, for example, like you touched on one of them, right? Like this show had to be about gay men because like straight women obsessed. I've been getting all of this content about the husbands being like, I lost my wife to Heated Rivalry, which is hilarious, and I'm like, but and then like you have everybody in the Alphabet Mafia that's watching this. This Alphabet Mafia referring to the LGBTQIA plus community. When we go into queer spaces sometimes, like something that when I first came out, the biggest issue I had is I would go out to gay bars and I was like, all right, I'm gonna go meet like a girl or like a lady. And like, I would go into like the city and I would go to the Castro and it was just a lot of gay guys, which is not a problem. I love to see it. But there wasn't really much else. And I started to buy into the idea of they were saying like, oh yeah, lesbians just like to stay home. You know, like, which, you know, like anyone can like to stay home, but they're like, yeah, lesbians don't like to go out at all. They just like to stay home. And I was just like, I guess that's true. Like, I just really, because that's all I was seeing, right? I was like, I guess that's true. And then when I moved to Oakland and I started going to more Oakland events, Oakland is so sapphic. Sapphic meaning women loving women or people who love women, right? And now I go to a bunch of events that are like, there's so many beautiful women, so many beautiful trans people, non-binary people. But at these spaces, I don't see as many gay men. But like, it's the same kind of energy of like there can be a lot of queer spaces, or like honestly, even in Oakland, a good amount of the bars are gay bars. And when I say gay bars, I mean gay men, you know? And when you go into a gay bar and you look femme, they think you're a straight girl trying to just have their little gay best friend moment, and they get upset about that. And it's like, no, boo, I'm gay too, but you're not used to seeing me here because I don't see myself reflected in here. And like, I even had a time where I was trying to, I'm gonna keep it very discreet. I wanted to do some like events and things like that, and these spaces were like, yeah, we want everyone to come here. And I'm like, well, I don't see it reflected because all your go-go dancers are gay men. Like, where are the ladies? Where are the girls? Like, if this is really a space that's meant for the whole like LGBTQIA, then like, why am I not seeing that reflected?
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much identical to the experience of the gay scene in Georgia, right? So Midtown Atlanta is kind of where all of the gay bars are. And there was one lesbian bar called My Sister's Room. And it always had like, right? Such a good name. So I do think that it's gotten a little bit better.
Of course.
I think. But when I still lived there, it was always like at least half empty, like every time. Like I was constantly worried that it was like on the brink of failure and they would close and it was also further away. So like there was like a strip on Midtown, like on a street where you could have all the gay bars. But to get to My Sister's Room, you'd have to get into the car and drive.
Yeah. It's
and it
like
was
San Francisco with Jolene's.
Yeah.
It's way out of the way. It's not even in the Castro. Or it's like White Horse.
Why are they segregating
us? Way far away from all of the gay bars that are in downtown Oakland.
Even like opposite coasts, opposite cultures, but that stays the same.
Yeah, and I mean, we're working on it. But another point that I'd love to ask you about misogyny or like the patriarchy impacts like relationships as a lesbian. We are all healing so much, and sometimes some of us still have some internalized misogyny, and I do have an awareness that it can come up for any of us, including in a lesbian relationship. Have you had any experience with that?
First of all, the fact that I haven't, as I said in the beginning of this podcast, that I haven't really thought about this topic too much until you brought it up to me, like a week ago or something. I think because of that, I haven't explored maybe a lot of the more subtle ways that misogyny could have affected, like from my perspective, like in terms of my behavior. Like I think I probably need to do a little bit more self-exploration on that, especially because the relationships that I have gotten into have been like very like high femme and high femme. Okay. And so I think in that situation, a lot of traditional gender roles kind of break down. And that's actually something when I was younger that I was really kind of excited about, and then I would talk with my partner about like, oh my gosh, so exciting, like I'm doing this thing, you're doing this thing, and they're both traditionally like the male roles, like when you're traveling together, but like now it's both of us, so we get to like split it up like equally. I do think that, and I'm making maybe some assumptions here based on how I am perceiving this experience, but I do think that maybe it comes into play with partners that I've had in the past, because I have always been with bisexual women who did not have any prior experience being in a relationship with a woman. Okay. And so sometimes I would feel like they were trying to bring their expectations of certain gender roles to our relationship, and that it almost made me feel like I was maybe falling short in a way because I wasn't masculine or manly enough in the way that they were expecting. And not that they necessarily outwardly were saying anything to me, but it's more like the little micro like moments, where they like, you see that there's like a little hesitation or like a surprise or like a, like kind of like a, oh, okay, kind of a.
Would you say it's like, just to kind of like break this down, because, we always tread the line of somebody is going to just lean into biphobia here. I'm not saying you are at all, you're not at all, but somebody is like, could lean into that line. But like,
cut that bitch.
Exactly, no, that ain't happening here.
Because bi is my favorite flavor. It's why it's the only flavor I've ever had, and I intend on having many more.
But anyway, what I'm getting at is, do you think that, like, because you said that a lot of, like, some of these partners that you've had haven't had as much experience. So it's like would you say that to you it's like clear that they're still in the process of figuring that out for themselves? Like, what does this relationship look like when it is, two femmes, two women or whatever, and like not knowing how to like navigate that in a sense?
Yeah, probably. I think I was at the kind of there at the beginning of a lot of their queer journeys. Maybe not necessarily for real.
I mean, I literally introduced you as the first girl I went on a date with.
Yeah. So I don't know why, but the baby gays were just always very comfortable with me, and who am I to say no?
Like, because you're so friendly and you're so nice.
I'm friendly.
And you talk about things and you're very pretty.
Oh my God, stop it, like, keep going. I mean.
As the baby gay that went on a date with you.
One of the baby gays.
one of your baby gays.
One of.
Yeah. Did you detect any of that with me?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, so much so that when you came out as non-binary later, I was like, oh, that makes sense. That makes so much sense. Immediately when I saw that, I was like, oh, okay. Okay, I got it.
Okay, so before we move on into some sillies, do you have anything more that you want to contribute to this conversation specifically?
Just one more thing.
Oh, okay.
Sharknado!
Pivot! All right, so now we're gonna sneak into the realm of sexcapades, because we were talking about this a little bit. So I have a few little questions for you before we wrap up into our next segment. If you could have sex anywhere, where would you have sex?
Under like perfect conditions,
Under
where
perfect
no
conditions.
Like creep.
None of the weird things happen. You could just, it will happen exactly as you want it to happen. Where would it be?
Okay. Honestly, so I used to figure skate for a really long time, right? And I would love to fuck like center ice.
Oh my God! Assuming that you don't get like iceberg.
No, I mean I'd lay it out like a blanket, just for like the aesthetic. Like I know technically like I hate the cold, but something about the ice skating rink kind of like negates that,
Heated blanket. I like that a lot. Heated rivalry. A reheat, if we will.
A reheat.
A
yes.
reheat of the ice. No, maybe not too much heat because you're
Scorching the ice.
Melt. You just fall through the ice.
Well, it's a cement block underneath. Imagine if when I'm down, there's like a melted patch in the middle.
That's how you know you did it right. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Okay, I love that. Like me, where would I want to have sex if I could have sex anywhere? Like my brain is going landmarky. Mm-hmm. I'm like Eiffel Tower. I'm like the top of the pyramids in Ciudad de Mexico. I'm like, do I want to have sex in Greece? Like out in the.
I love that it's so historical.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah. I'm like,
educational sex.
Let's some educational sex. No, if you were listening, I did like an arm bomb that I normally do lower to my shoulders, but I did it by my face, and it looked like bukkake central. I'm so sorry.
Just imagining what you're gonna do at these occasions.
Oh my god. To the family who's watching this, I'm so sorry. I feel like that's kind of where my mind is going. Okay. Because I already have had sex in some pretty fire-ass places, which is the next question. Where is the wildest place that you have had sex?
I haven't had sex in wild places.
Weird, unconventional, or even like idealistic.
I don't know that there aren't really any like wild places I've had sex per se. I'd say maybe the one like a riskier choice that I made was once I had sex in a car with this girl, but the car was parked right next to my parents' house. Like right next to it. Like if they had walked out the door, they would have seen everything.
Yeah, I was once eating pussy in broad daylight. In Jack London Square, and people were walking by. The date was just too good.
Sometimes you just have to stop for a snack.
No, sometimes you have to stop for a snack, but sometimes you have to take that snack to the car, you know? I think the wildest place I have had sex is off the side of a cliff on a beach. Like just waves crashing.
We're not afraid of falling? Like while you were attached?
I was really well established.
Oh, okay.
There's blankets were laid. It was kind of cold, honestly. Like sand was kind of getting in places.
I don't know, but you move around a lot during sex, right? Or I don't know if you do. I do. I like to move. I like to make use of all of my territory.
Oh, yes. Well, you see, I'm also like incredibly mindful. I'm too paranoid to fall down. Like I won't fall down because I've already thought about all the ways that I'm gonna fall down as it's happening. So I'm like not doing any of that.
See, I'm too paranoid to even go into that situation in the first place because I know myself.
Yeah, it was glorious.
And I would fall.
I've had sex on the beach a few times, and my wish is that I could do it in broad daylight, closer to the water. But like I haven't
like
had access to a
sun.
private beach. I've done all of these sex on the beach things at night because who gonna catch
cold.
me then? Exactly.
Yeah.
But I still get to do it. You know. So that's that question. Last question.
Okay.
Have you ever been caught having sex?
I have not been caught having sex. No.
Fortunate are the few.
Well, I have to be very careful not being gay in the South.
Yeah, I guess that's true. This question would have been I've never been caught up until a few years ago. You see, the panini, the pandemic, in its height. You know how I mentioned that I was buying toys? I was using them too. Right. And sometimes I would get a little cocky in the middle of the day. And my bed was right next to the door, so I always relied on the fact that I could see the door opening, so it's okay. But one time I got a little too cocky, and I was under the covers, but my mom fully opened that door, and I was fully going to town underneath, and then she closed that door, and then I was mortified in my room for hours until I finally left my room, and we never addressed it. Because like that's not the dynamic of my family. I wish like if I ever decide to have a family, the dynamic of my family is my kid can talk to me about it, and it's fine, and I might poke fun if anything. But like that's not the dynamic that lived in my home. So that is the way that I've gotten caught having sex with myself. Yes.
Please, there wasn't another person there.
Yeah, that would have been a lot harder to find because she didn't really see anything, but she knew what was happening, and I knew what was happening. So there's that. Before we close this amazing, juicy little podcast. First podcast. It was so good. We're going to do a fun little segment that right now a few folks submitted some questions to us. This is called Puti Questions. So we have a few folks who submitted some questions to us, and I know you have a question. Folks have submitted questions through Instagram. We are going to open up a Patreon that you should be able to access now that you are seeing this. We're going to release it as soon as our episodes drop, and moving forward, Puti questions can be submitted through our Patreon, and through our Patreon, we will be answering all questions on a live stream, but for the purpose of the podcast, we'll pull a few, and we'll answer a few here, and they are anonymous, yes? So I'm going to ask us a few little questions to ask that people have asked us, and then you can pose your last question for us. First question is, what's a kink you've always been interested in exploring?
So I am very closed off and ashamed of my kinks.
Okay.
I am very not open to sharing them.
Okay.
Which is an indictment on society that has made me feel like I can't share them.
This is very true.
So
I think that awareness is great.
yeah.
So that's where your answer lies, right?
Yeah.
This is a Sharknado?
This is Sharknado.
This is a Sharknado. Okay.
It's a Sharknado!
It's a Sharknado! I'll answer this question for myself. I touched upon it as like a joke earlier, which was like exhibition. I feel like I would really be into people watching me or watching me with someone else, or I would be really into watching. The idea of that just sounds really fun.
Like a lot of people like at one of those like sex, like the, not parties, but like where they have like those places where you go and like sex home houses or I don't know.
Dungeons?
Dungeons, I guess.
Or like
but,
sex parties?
Yeah, sex parties.
I do actually
I was thinking more of those big like mansions. I'd go with you.
No,
I'd go.
Well, then we need to find a sex party because I am trying to go to a sex party. In case you guys didn't know, I'm also polyamorous. So in case you're like, didn't you just say you had a partner? Bitch, I am fluid in all spectrums. Literally everything. Bisexual, gender fluid, ethically non-monogamous, polyamorous. But yeah, so that is something I could be into, like one person watching or a few people watching, but I'm also like, I think that's also why I'm into the idea of sex parties. Or going to like a dungeon. Like we're actually, by the time this episode has come out, would have recorded a live podcast at an event called Paradox, where we're gonna, it's a sex dungeon, it's a new one, and they have a space for people to watch. Yeah, like the watching is the voyeur and the person being watched is the exhibitionist. So I'd be interested in both dynamics. I think I'd be really interested in people watching though. Okay, next question. What is your favorite activity for aftercare? And now just real quick for folks who have never heard the term aftercare, sex within like the kink world and BDSM, but even just vanilla sex, is intimate. Like regardless of if it is like intimate with that person, you're like, you get naked with somebody. Your juices are moving and shaking. Body parts are jiggling, and orgasms are being had possibly. And so
hopefully,
hopefully, like I mean, if that's the vibe, sometimes sometimes it's not.
Right.
Sometimes you're like, I need something real quick, and I'm okay. Anyway, point is, it's important to do something afterwards to kind of step yourself back into the world, especially if you have like a longer or a more intense sexual experience, but also just like if you want a little aftercare, that could be like drinking water, getting a massage, having a meal or something. But do you have any like aftercare ritual or anything you like to do after sex?
So for me, I have a lot of like sensory issues.
Okay.
And thankfully, during sex, I'm so into it that it's okay and I'm not really paying attention unless the sex is bad. But almost pretty much immediately afterwards, I feel like all of the juices and everything, the grime, the dirt, like it's, the lube is like sticky because you weren't, right? And so my favorite aftercare is when we both jump in the shower straight afterwards. Just straight afterwards, go to the shower because then you get to have more sex. And sex as aftercare is, right, but then also you get to clean each other. And I feel like there's something really sweet and intimate about washing somebody else,
Oh, that's so cute. Funny enough, I also despise, I'm the exact same way. As soon as sex is like come to a conclusion, so to speak, I am like if anything is sticky on me, like my sensory, like I just get really overstimulated and I hate it.
Yep.
I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it so much. So like for me, it's I also do like me a little like cleaning up. I would say for me, it's also like being hydrated. I like to transition into shows sometimes afterwards. I'm like, okay, I like want to just like mentally transition as someone who is like a survivor. Sex is really unpredictable for me, and the way that I experience it can be really unpredictable. So like I'm not as big into one night stands these days as I used to be for that reason, just because I feel like most sex that I have can be very intimate because of like wherever I'm at with the way that my SA is like affecting my sex life and like the triggers that I'm experiencing. You had a question that you wanted to pose, correct?
Yeah, I can ask you a question.
This hat, for those of you who are watching, we did a mock pod, a practice podcast a few months ago, and then my laptop went kaput for a while. But Vered was our guest, and we put the questions in the hat, and I never took the questions out. So you are expanding on your question, correct?
Yes.
Give it to us.
How is sex different between men versus women versus non-binary people, physically, spiritually, and metaphorically?
Sex with, as someone who is AFAB, meaning I am someone who is assigned female at birth. I identify as gender fluid, so sometimes I can be really femme, sometimes I could be masc, sometimes I wander around in the middle. However, me getting comfortable in my gender expression has become more recent in like the last 2 years. Like I've leaned into it more, so like having more of a like social transition, let's call it, has been more recent. So sex with men has changed a lot since then. Like I don't attract that many men anymore, which is kind of weird for me because it does like it's not like I'm attracted to hella men. I also not attracted to as many men, but to the ones that I'm attracted to, they just, you know, like I have the problem where I like find myself attracted to straight people.
I'm so sorry.
This happens to me with
I've been
women,
there.
too.
It's terrible.
Sucks. It's not all, thankfully. It's not all, but I do find that it happens. But with men, it's... I was actually just talking about this in therapy. I can get very ABC. It's like you just kind of go through the motions of like what sex is supposed to be. It's like kind of mechanical sometimes. I think some of that has to do with me, like the trauma response of like my trauma being in relation to like men. So yeah, but it's also like there's like an expectation, there's like a script almost already. Like this is the kind of stuff we're gonna do in sex. There's not as much communication in the experience that I've had with the many men that I have had sex with. There's not as much communication. I definitely, as I stepped into my sexual power, would initiate that communication ahead of time of like, what are you into, what do you like, and so like have those conversations ahead of time. Sex with women is definitely way more conversations. It's sweeter. There's definitely a different energy there. I've had more sex with non-binary people compared to women. And that is also very different because any script that could exist in the other, like, let's call it binaries, is just tossed. It's just so tossed. It's like, who's the top? Who's the bottom? What's the experience I want to have? There's also conversations of like, potentially like, how do you refer to my body parts because of dysphoria?
Okay.
Like, do not call this part of my body a penis, call it a clit, or vice versa. Or do not call this part of my body this. And like, you know, there's just so much more conversation. And so like the queerer sex gets, the more dialogue there is, and I really like that because it feels more engaging and safe for me. When I'm in that 1, 2, 3 like automatic with like straight guys, it just gets really like, maybe at first if I'm having sex with you for the first time it can be really fun because it's new, but it gets real boring and it gets really like, I get really really disengaged. Like that's like also further, I don't have sex with straight guys because I'm gender fluid, so you're gay if you're with me, to be honest. But like the men that I have had sex with in the last few years have been bisexual, and that is also different. That is also
I was gonna ask you about that.
Yeah,
how's that different?
Very different because it depends on like kind of what they're into, like how does their bisexuality express, and also like how, like, you know, they've engaged or, you know, wherever they're at the spectrum, because to be bisexual you do not have to prove it.
What does that even mean? How do you prove your sexuality? Is like a
have
panel of
sex with
judges
to make sure that you like everyone, and if you haven't had sex with everyone, then how do you know if you like? It's the same crap as like
because straight people have had sex with everyone.
Yeah, right, literally. But yeah, no, it's different because like, you know, when they are engaging with like other gay men or other bi men, and then they jump into this space with you, it shifts the dynamic. The masculinity is not as fragile. Can it still be fragile? Yes. But it's not nearly as much because they've already kind of had to do some of this work. It's like I'm having sex with gay men, essentially, but they're bi men, you know?
Right.
They like women too, but like they engage in that. And so it's kind of fun because I do like to be a dom at times. I can be very comfortable in that. And I do love me a little baby girl boy, you know? Like, and not that I don't like me like like, you know, that kind of energy, but it's just, yeah, it's quite a spectrum of an experience, and that's pretty fun. All right, that brings us to the very end of the very first episode of Putita and Proud Podcast. Now the arms are going up and down and towards me.
It's like holding a mic.
Yeah, holding a mic. Oh my god. Anyway, thank you so much for being my first guest. Thank you also, what the people may not know, or I mentioned earlier, I don't know if it was included or not, but that you were our guest for our practice podcast too. I really, 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 really fucking appreciate you. I'm excited to go hit a joint after this and have some good times. I really appreciate you being here. This was great. I really enjoyed it. I'm really excited for the people to see this. Is there anything that you want to share, anything you want to shout out, anything you want to say?
Just thank you for having me, right? It's so much fun, you know. I feel like it's special being in the inaugural podcast that I know is going to blow up, and someday people are going to go back and look at the first episode and there's me. Hi, guys. Yes, thank you to, you know, you guys here behind the cameras who are making it all possible. Otherwise, no one would know that we put on this performance.
Yeah, shout out Romy, shout out Max, shout out Luana, who unfortunately is sick today. But yeah, this would not be possible without everybody who is working behind the scenes and without the folks who helped out. A special shout out to Sarata Borga, my homie, my lover friend, who really pushed me to make this bigger than I was originally going to make it. Like I wouldn't have a whole production team if it was not for them. So thank you. A shout out to Fatima, who donated a ton of equipment like that we have been like using and testing out and all of that jazz, and like so fucking I gotta stop with my arms. I need new arms.
We just want to dance today.
I appreciate it. Yes, to everyone who has like been supporting. We're so excited to be starting this. Anything you want to shout out?
If you're a Hito Bravo fan, you should watch Scam. SKAM. Look it up. It's so good.
Ooh,
that's what I'm shouting out.
That's on my list somewhere. Do you know where people can watch that?
You got to do a little search for it. You got to do a little, you know, you got to find her. She's a little elusive, but she's out there.
On the interwebs?
On the interwebs.
On the interwebs. Okay, fabulous. So that's going to be a wrap for our episode. A reminder that today, P was for pussy power. P was for pivot. P was for the potential of this podcast. Thanks again for joining us on our first episode. Once more, my name is Supernova. So signing off, this proud Putita. We did it! High five!
Yeah!
Yeah!